Subscribe to Stories, click the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable story. I was buried under a mountain of reports, the kind that makes every minute feel heavier than the last. The office hummed with fluorescent lights and distant chatter, just another ordinary day. I just poured myself a sad, lukewarm cup of coffee when a message popped up on my screen. Not an email. An instant message from my boss, Thomas. "Can you come to the conference room for a moment?" Nothing strange about that. He did it all the time. But something in the wording felt different. Hook 1 asterisk, what if the simplest invitation from your boss turned into the most unexpected connection of your life? I grabbed my notes and walked down the hallway, my heels clicking softly on the polished floor. The conference room smelled faintly of polished wood and citrus cleaner, a scent that always made the space feel strangely intimate. Thomas was standing by the window, looking out at the city's skyline. The late morning sunlight caught the silver in his hair, and for a second he didn't look like the powerful executive everyone knew. He looked human. He turned as I walked in, and his smile was warmer than I'd ever seen it. "Thanks for coming so quickly," he said, motioning to the chairs. I sat down, not sure what to expect. He didn't jump into work talk. Instead, he leaned against the table and said something I never thought I'd hear from him. "I wanted to talk to you. Not about reports or deadlines. Just you." He looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "You've been working so hard lately. I see it. And I think it's time someone told you that." It wasn't a performance review. It wasn't praise to make me work harder. It was real. And it hit me harder than any promotion ever could. We ended up talking, not about projects or numbers, but about life. Small wins. Quiet struggles. The things we never say out loud at work. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen. When I left that room, something had shifted. My day wasn't ordinary anymore. It felt alive. Later that afternoon, another message. "He'd like to see you again if you have a few minutes." My heart did a little flip, not from fear, but from something warm and curious. Hook 2 asterisk, and every time I walked into that conference room, I left as a slightly different version of myself. The second time, the light had changed. Golden beams stretched across the table. We talked longer. Laughed more. He told me about a painting he'd been working on, how he gets frustrated with stubborn brushstrokes. I laughed, imagining my usually perfect boss covered in paint and cursing at a canvas. He smiled, really smiled, and said, "You'd be surprised how many people here have no idea who you really are. How sharp you are. How kind." I felt my walls coming down, brick by brick. The third time, the conversation went deeper. Childhood stories. Quiet dreams. Moments we'd both kept hidden for years. He listened like no one else ever had. Not rushing. Not judging. Just there. At one point he leaned forward and said, "I hope this doesn't feel too forward, but I value you. Not just as an employee. As a person." His voice was soft, honest. No agenda. No power play. Just truth. And in that moment, something inside me softened. I realized I'd been starving for this, being seen, truly seen, without masks or titles. We stayed in that room until the light shifted and long shadows stretched across the table. There was no rush. No pressure. Just two people connecting in the quiet of a conference room that no longer felt like an office. When I finally stood to leave, we shared a look. No words needed. We both knew something beautiful had started. Not dramatic. Not forbidden. Just deeply, quietly human. That evening, as I walked home under the city lights, I felt lighter. Calmer. More myself than I had in years. Sometimes the most powerful moments aren't loud. They don't come with grand gestures or dramatic music. They happen in ordinary places, with a cup of bad coffee, sunlight on a table, and someone who finally says, "I see you." And that changes everything. Thank you for watching Stories. If this story touched you, hit the like button, subscribe to Stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another moment like this. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a conversation that quietly changed the way you see yourself? Because sometimes all it takes is one person truly listening to remind you who you really are.